everyone? This is the George here, and this is the next episode of Common Sense and Pop Culture. As I said, I'm George, and this is the third week that we are going to be doing this show. Although it's going to be a shorter episode today because it's Mother's Day, got things to do, got plans to do later. Also, the Knicks game is on earlier today. For those of you who don't follow basketball, I'm a New York Knicks fan. And the Knicks might have a chance to sweep the Philadelphia 76ers. So I want to see if that's possible before I go out and do some Mother's Day things. But we still have some stuff we got to talk about because some news broke this week, as well as like another article that if I don't get to, I can just get to it next week because it's like a little fun add-on to today's show. But I hope everyone's having a nice week. We're a couple weeks away from Mandalorian Grogu as well. But here we go. So, in the title, the two main topics are going to be Matthew Lillard being casted in Man of Tomorrow and trying to guess what kind of role he could be playing in Man of Tomorrow, who he's going to. And then we've got the Odyssey. The new trailer for the Odyssey came out last week. And while I overall liked it, there's a lot of backlash that this trailer's facing. So we're going to get into the backlash. Is it understandable? Is it not understandable? So let's start with the whole Man of Tomorrow news. So it seems like James Gunn is getting right into moving on Man of Tomorrow. For good reason. Superman made a lot of money last year. The sequel got greenlit right away. And we already see some photos of Matthew Lillard with James Gunn. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And for those of you who don't know, as I'm looking for this, Matthew Lillard does have history with James Gunn. James Gunn, before he was known for the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, any other comic book movie like The Suicide Squad and Superman, he was the guy that wrote the Scooby-Doo movies from the 2000s. The live-action ones. Yeah, the ones where Matthew Lillard was Shaggy. And, of course, if we remember, Matthew Lillard was excellent as Shaggy in those movies. In fact, he is the successor to voice actor Casey Kasem in regards to playing Shaggy in the animated Scooby-Doo stuff. We also know Matthew Lillard is well known for playing Stu Macher, one of the original Ghost Faces in Scream. And he's my personal favorite Ghostface. For most people, he's either number one or number two behind Billy Loomis. And of course, we know he did come back and minor spoiler for Scream 7, he played an AI version of Stu Macher, but honestly, I had a feeling it was going to go in that direction when he was first announced and they announced some of the other Ghostface killers returning, like Scott Foley as Roman. So I had a feeling it was going to go that way, so I wasn't in the camp that was disappointed. I mean, if he ever comes back as Stu, cool. I hope they make it work, though, because I feel like the AI stuff, like Stu Macher coming back in AI, fits more in the realm of Scream than, Stu Macher survived all these years and was hiding kind of thing. But we're not here to talk about Scream. We're here to talk about Man of Tomorrow and Matthew Lillard. And Matthew Lillard, though, he has been on a very interesting career resurgence. Like, he's always had work. It's not like he's been out of the industry for a while. Like, he's had work. But usually it's been like TV guest appearances, voicing Shaggy in whatever Scooby-Doo project, whether it was a show or direct-to-video movie. But he's been in the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. He was in the recent season of Daredevil. He's getting a really nice resurgence. And all this is happening at an interesting time. I don't know if you remember, I think it was last year or earlier this year. Can't remember which. Was like end of last year, beginning of this year. Quentin Tarantino, and I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino movies. I love his movies. Tarantino was taking a few shots at some actors that he wasn't a huge fan of. And Matthew Lillard was one of them. Like Paul Dano, was one of them. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was the movie that he disliked. He disliked the movie that Paul Dano was in. And that's why it's not one of his favorites. I'm going to look at it real quick. Oh, yeah, There Will Be Blood. Apparently, he said Paul Dano's performance in There Will Be Blood ruined the movie, which I think it's dumb. I mean, even if an actor is not exactly giving the best performance, I mean, Keanu Reeves and Bram Stoker's Dracula wasn't all that great, but it didn't ruin the movie because everyone else acted perfect circles around him, like Gary Oldman. Katie Holmes in Batman Begins, like she was the weak link, but she didn't ruin Batman Begins. Batman Begins is still an excellent movie. So, I mean, Paul Dano didn't ruin There Will Be Blood. That is still an excellent movie. But whatever. I mean, Tarantino has his opinion. You can love the man's movies, but you can also not agree with his opinion. So, and I know Matthew Lillard recently came out and spoke about Tarantino's comments. This was like back in February. I think he finally spoke out. I'm just going to find the article real quick. So Matthew Lillard said it felt like I had died, and it's like getting punched in the mouth. I mean, when one of the best regarded directors, one of the best received directors, who has worked with amazing actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Samuel Jackson, John Travolta, Bruce Willis, Jamie Foxx, Uma Thurman, so much great talent. When you've worked with so many great actors, or the directors with so many great actors, and then he says about you're not all that great. That does kind of hurt, especially if, let's say, you want to be in that director's movie. So, like, Tarantino back in December said Lillard was on a list of actors that he said he didn't care for. And about Paul Dano, he said, I'm not saying he's giving a terrible performance. I'm saying he's giving non-entity. I don't care for him. I don't care for Owen Wilson. I don't care for Matthew Lillard. I mean, the thing is, when you frame that way, it's like, do you not just care about them as actors or as people? Feels like a bad shot, punch in the gut, like. So, but it seems like Matthew Lillard, he's gotten support from people. It's like said from people at the mall this weekend with my kids to George Clooney, James Gunn, and Mike Flanagan. They've been really generous about saying how much they loved me and like my work. This is what he has said. James Gunn also came out in support, saying one of my favorite guys and actors. And Clooney will be honored to work with any of the actors Tarantino criticized. And Flanagan called Lillard the goddamn greatest. Sorry for saying that, by the way, God. It's a Sunday. I'm Catholic. I shouldn't be saying stuff like that. But it's the truth. He is great. And it hurts because he wants to be in one of those films and he thinks he's a great filmmaker. So obviously, I mean, Tarantino, I think he's only going to do one more movie. I don't even know what kind of movie he's going to do. 1 minute, we think he's doing a R-rated Star Trek movie. 1 minute, we think he's doing a movie about a movie critic. Who knows when this mysterious final movie of Tarantino's is going to be. He hasn't made a movie in 7 years. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is an excellent movie. It's going to be 7 years since that movie came out. So who knows when Tarantino's going to do that. Red, don't give ammunition to the Snyder fans, please. Oh my goodness. Okay, listen, I would love to see Henry Cavill in some other role. I like Henry Cavill. Cosmic book news. Oh my goodness. Here's the thing, Cosmic book news, they're worse than Geekosity was. Like, I remember Geekosity in the early 2020s was saying, oh, Snyderverse is going to come back, and then it didn't happen. Never happened. Cosmic News wants to be the next Geekosity from what it sounds like. Anyways, Lillard did respond at GalaxyCon Columbus back then saying whatever. The point is that I heard your feelings. You wouldn't say that Top Cruise or any top line actor. Obviously, this was around the time Scream 7 was coming out, so he's probably commenting on it because he was probably doing interviews or talking to help promote Scream 7. But whatever. But obviously, James Gunn came in the clutch to recruit Matthew Lillard for his movie, which is interesting because Matthew Lillard was recently in Daredevil Season 2, Born Again. And as the character Mr. Charles. So it's very interesting that he's now going to be going there. But I mean, we've seen this before where actors have gone from Marvel, DC, or DC to Marvel, or have done both at the same time. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne is a perfect example. He was in Man of Steel and BVS, and then like a couple years later, he goes to the MCU in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's a common thing for actors to go into either one. And we've been hearing that, Sebastian Stan could be in the Batman Part 2. And we know he's been Bucky Barnes for so many years. I don't think it's been confirmed what role he's playing. It's Sebastian Stan. He's been fan casted as Captain Britain. That would be interesting. And here's the thing. Jason Momoa, he was Aquaman in the DCU, and now he's going to be Lobo in the DCU. So these actors, it doesn't really matter, what universe or what version of the universe they're in. They're going to get work. They're going to be offered roles. Go ahead and get it. At the end of the day, the entertainment industry, it's a business. And whatever opportunity, whether it's money or best way to showcase your talent, to get more roles, to get more noticed, go ahead and take it. So last week, we saw, find the picture from discussing film. We saw that James Gunn and Matthew Lillard were on the set of Man of Tomorrow. And we kind of see it doesn't look like a regular visit. He is going to be in the movie. Looks like he's in nice dress attire. And it does make me curious what role he's going to have in this movie. As far as we know, it's undisclosed. We don't know who he's going to play. There are some predictions that he could be playing what DC character he could be playing. Let me see if I can find it. I found an article that has a good guess as to what characters he could be playing as. Okay. So 5 DC characters Matthew Lillard could be playing in Man of Tomorrow. Now, this isn't confirmation. This is just guesses as to who he can be playing. Now, this movie, it's already becoming quite stacked. Obviously, David Cornsweet, Nicholas Hoult, and Rachel Brosnahan are coming back, as well as Isabella Merced, Nathan Fillion, Eddie Gahegi. Sorry if I mispronounced these names, by the way. I stink at pronunciations. Frank Grillo. But we also got Lars Edinger playing Brainiac. I'm so glad, by the way, Brainiac is finally going to be in a live-action Superman movie. Brainiac's one of my favorite Superman villains. He is long overdue to be in a Superman movie. Let's go. I'm so excited he's going to be in it. We know that Adria Arjona, sorry if I mispronounced that name, has also been recently cast. A lot of people think she's going to be Wonder Woman, but I think she's been confirmed as Maxima, or it's most likely Maxima. I don't think it's going to be Wonder Woman. I don't think they're going to be casting Wonder Woman just yet. So now let's see who could be Matthew Lillard is playing. It could be a small role for all we know. I mean, James Gunn, he likes to cast his friends, whether it's big roles or small roles. He's cast Nathan Fillion in small roles in Guardians of the Galaxy. So we'll see. Let's look at number 5. So the first one is Ted Cord / Blue Beetle. So now this I think this is this, not saying it's possible. I think the reason why they think this, because James Gunn had also came out and said he's trying to figure out what from Blue Beetle and the Suicide Squad is he still going to keep, because he seems like he wants to keep the actor that played Blue Beetle, the new Blue Beetle. But it's like, I think he's trying to figure out what elements to keep in. I think this is the only confusing thing about James Gunn's DCU. It's like he wants to keep certain things, but wants to not keep certain things. It's like certain events from the Suicide Squad movie from 2021 are canon, but then it's like some things aren't. Most of the things from Peacemaker season 1 are canon, but then there's a couple things that aren't. I mean, he did kind of rewrite it in the first episode of season 2, where instead of the Justice League, it's Superman, Supergirl, and the Justice Gang appearing. So I think they're trying to go by Blue Beetle, the movie, assuming that's part of James Gunn's DCU, going by the post-credit scene that confirms Ted Cord is alive, that most people believe he's died. He's been gone for a while. So, as said, he has confirmed that Zolo's Jamie Reyes will return to the DCU. And as I said before, he's teased that he wants to make some decisions on what parts of Blue Beetle are going to be part of DC canon. I mean, Blue Beetle, which I think is a good movie, by the way, Blue Beetle didn't acknowledge anything that happened in the DCEU. Like, Blue Beetle is a pure solo movie. It does make a couple references to DC characters, like, there's the Batman in reference, the joke of George Lopez's character calling Batman a fascist. But besides that, Blue Beetle is really contained as a solo movie. It's a pure superhero solo movie. What I mean by pure superhero solo movie is it's focused on that character in the name, Blue Beetle. There's no guest appearances from other DC characters. Kind of like how, Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to have Punisher and the Hulk appearing, or, you had the Flash movie having a couple Batman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman in it. Blue Beetle is a pure solo movie. So it doesn't acknowledge, and it doesn't really reference anything. It doesn't reference what happened in Man of Steel or what happened in Aquaman or Black Adam. It doesn't reference any of those other movies. So you can get away with it. And I do think Lillard could be a good choice. I don't think Ted Cord's going to be a Man of Tomorrow, personally. I think he would be a good choice to play the character. He can handle comedy. He's in his mid-50s, so he can play an old veteran superhero. And I think that'd be an interesting dynamic with Zolo's Jamie Reyes. Jay Garrick. Again, I think he'd probably be good for Jay Garrick. But again, I don't know. I can't see James Gunn throwing a bunch of superheroes into the movie that would be this important just yet. Oh, hey Sal. In that picture you showed, do you think that Lillard was wearing was just him or part of the wardrobe? I don't think he'd be coming in a dress shirt and a tie if it was just a regular visit. It could be part of his wardrobe of whichever character he was playing. I think it's most likely a wardrobe. I don't think he would be wearing that for just some kind of visit. I mean, look, James Gunn's the director of the movie, and he looks more underdressed in the picture than Matthew Lillard. It looked like James Gunn was just wearing a t-shirt. Because I could see Matthew Lillard, if he was just coming by to visit, just wearing a t-shirt or a regular shirt. So let's see why they think it's Jay Garrick. Now, on one hand, this could be the first step into including Flash in the DC universe. Now, I've always had a prediction that when the Flash is eventually going to get into the DCU, it's most likely not going to be Barry Allen at first. And I think that's because the Flash movie is still fresh on everyone's mind. And the whole discourse of the Flash movie, especially surrounding Ezra Miller, who played Barry Allen, I don't think general audiences are ready to revisit Barry Allen on the big screen. So I had a couple theories. I didn't share them on stream. So my theories were always that, either they could just do Wally West like they did in the DC animated universe, like Justice League, Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, or maybe, they start off with Jay Garrick. So I can see Jay Garrick appearing in the DCU. He is the original Flash, and he has been pushed aside usually because, the Flash show and movie used Barry Allen, and the animated stuff has used Wally West in the past. And again, this is the first Flash, so if Lillard is going to play a veteran superhero, Jay Garrick's another one that seems realistic. But I don't know if James Gunn is really going to throw that many heroes into the movie. Of course, he's got Superman. He's got the Justice Gang already in there. I'm trying to think. The new Lantern show. The guy that's going to be playing Jon Stewart. Aaron Pierre. Was he confirmed for Man of Tomorrow? I'm trying to remember if he was or not. Because I thought I heard somewhere that he might be in it. If that's so, that's another character that's in the movie, another superhero. Okay, he is. I looked it up. He is. I mean, he's reported. So you already got quite a few superheroes in this movie. That's why I don't believe that Wonder Woman's going to be in this movie either. Now, granted, Ted Kord and Jay Garrick aren't as big as Wonder Woman, and they probably wouldn't have as big of a role. But still, I don't think they're going to overdo it with the superheroes in the movie. Because I do feel like those would be two important characters. Now, if there is going to be another hero introduced in the movie, this seems like the most realistic one. And this seems like one that a lot of people on social media are hinting at. Plastic Man. This is another hero that I think Matthew Lillard would be really good for. I think he could fit into the Justice Gang. And again, he can pull off the comedic charm of Plastic Man. Now, I didn't know this. This says that apparently when they were making the first Scooby-Doo movie back in 2002, there was an interest between Gunn and Lillard in doing a Plastic Man movie together. Now, that was like 24 years ago. It's been over 2 decades. But hey, they probably still remember. I just wonder, again, like with Ted Kord and Jay Garrick, do you want to overdo it and introduce so many superheroes? I mean, Plastic Man, I think he would probably be playing a smaller role than those characters. Maybe he's like a new member of the Justice Gang. But I do like this casting. I like all 3 of those castings, honestly. If he was playing Ted Kord, Jay Garrick, and Plastic Man. I just don't think those characters should be in Man of Tomorrow. Now, is it going to ruin the movie for me if any of those characters are? No, I mean, it could still be a good movie. I just don't want an way overcrowded movie. Like, there are people that thought Superman was overcrowded last year with just the Justice Gang, or feared that when it was announced that they were going to be in the movie. And they either felt it wasn't crowded or it was crowded. Now, this one seems like the least likely. This next one. Oh, and there is a tweet from March 5th, 2023, where James Gunn said Matt and I sat in a trailer with the head of Warner Brothers, Lorenzo D. Bonaventura, on the set of Scooby-Doo in 2000 and told him we wanted to do Plastic Man. 2000. So actually, it's been 26 years if it was 2000, not 2002. And yeah, Gunn can do whatever he wants, but I do hope Gunn can still put together a different story. Now, back to what I was saying before I saw the tweet. This seems like the least likely. Jim Gordon. First of all, I think of these characters so far, I think Jim Gordon doesn't fit Matthew Lillard as well as some of the other characters. Like, to be fair, Matthew Lillard, he is around that age that I imagine Jim Gordon would be in. Mid-50s. And the shirt that he had on, like the pattern dress shirt with the tie, that looks like something Jim Gordon would wear. Like if you've seen Jim Gordon's style in other Batman movies, shows, comic books, and it looked like he had a little mustache in that picture. I'm gonna look in. Yeah, he's got like a little mustache growing. He's got the glasses on, and Jim Gordon's got glasses. They look like Jim Gordon glasses. So the wardrobe is Jim Gordon-ish. But I don't see Jim Gordon being introduced, especially before the DCU Batman's being introduced. Now, that could be a dumb thing for me to say because they're doing Clayface before Batman's being introduced. We got the upcoming Clayface movie this year. And Gunn has, again, debunked rumors that Batman's is not going to be a Man of Tomorrow. No, he's debunked rumors that Batman is a Man of Tomorrow. But, he could plant seeds, which is true. But I don't see Superman. It does say here Superman Lex's battle with Brainiac could spill into Gotham and draw in major characters. I don't think it's going to draw into Gotham, honestly. Especially because the Batman Part 2 is coming out. See, the thing is, Man of Tomorrow is coming out the same year as the Batman Part 2. And I don't think they're going to include any Gotham Batman-related projects in 2027 in DCU because the Batman Part 2 is coming out. See, Clayface this year, there's no Batman-related projects coming out. So it makes sense that Clayface is coming out this year. It would have made sense if they did Clayface earlier and came out last year. But I don't think with the Batman Part 2 coming out, and I assume Jeffrey Wright's going to be returning as Gordon in that movie, I don't think they're going to do anything Gotham related. I don't think they're even going to have Gotham in the movie because you already got Gotham in the Batman Part 2. I know it's all confusing. This would be an interesting role, though, because while the other roles fit Lillard's comedic style, this would be a more dramatic role. And it would be interesting to see, how he can play Jim Gordon. And yeah, here's again the picture. That looks like a Jim Gordon outfit. All right. Now, let's see what the last one is. This would also hint that he could have a big role. Any of these characters that they've so far think he could be playing, they're going to be big characters regardless. Like the first three characters, those are DC superheroes. They're going to have big roles in other things. Like if he's playing Ted Kord, he'll have a big role in Blue Beetle stuff. If he's playing Plastic Man, he'll have a big role in future projects. I don't know if they would cast Gordon yet without casting Batman. But again, they did cast Clayface already, so. Now, Lex Luthor's father. This, I think, is more realistic than Jim Gordon. And it says right here, Lillard is great at playing villains, or he's a master. As I said before, he's great at being Stu Macher in the Scream franchise. He's also been the villain in Five Nights at Freddy. I haven't watched the Five Nights at Freddy movies, so I don't know how well he played his character in those movies. And this can give him a chance to showcase his tenacity and darkness. Now, Lex Luthor's father is Lionel Luthor. And we know Luthor is going to have a big role in this movie where him and Superman are going to have to reluctantly team up to fight against Brainiac. However, we saw how much Lex hates Superman in the Superman movie. And it would be interesting to see what Lex's father is like, because his father most likely shaped his upbringing, shaped up why he would hate someone like Superman. He's been portrayed as abusive and cruel in the past. And obviously with a rough upbringing, it would probably make sense why Lex would have so much hatred for someone like Superman. I think this would be a good opportunity. It would be a good opportunity to explore the villain's backstory and understand him. Now, he's 21 years older than Nicholas Hoult, which would make the father-son dynamic believable. Listen, there's been shorter age gaps between actors in regards to playing the parent of characters. Take Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, for example. Sean Connery, who played Indiana Jones' father, was only 12 years older than Harrison Ford, and yet they had perfect father-son chemistry. It was such a perfect dynamic. Last night, I had rewatched Boys in the Hood, and so in that movie, Cuba Gooding Jr., his character's father is played by Lawrence Fishburne, and Lawrence Fishburne's only, I think it was 7-8 years older than Cuba Gooding Jr. And yet, in the movie, Lawrence Fishburne, he looks like he can be playing the father of a young adult, a young father of a young adult. And Cuba Gooding Jr., he was like, I think his early mid-20s when he played. He was in Boys in the Hood. He still looked like he can play like a teenager that's entering adulthood. So, a 21-year-old age gap between Hoult and Lillard, that's nothing. That's nothing. It's believable. I mean, Lionel Luthor could have had a kid at the age of 21. Now, I will say, as I said before I went over this, it's very possible Matthew Lillard could be playing a small role, like could even be a one-time role. We've seen this before with some other characters or actors that James Gunn loves to work with. It's very possible he could be playing someone else. Maybe he's playing someone in charge of Belle Reve, where Lex is currently in. Maybe he's playing some kind of character based in Metropolis. I'm trying to think like what other Superman characters could he be playing? Because he could just be playing a Superman character. Superman, I know it's not always seen in the Superman movies, past movies. Superman still has a big cast of characters. There's still a pretty big cast. Maybe he's playing the commissioner of the Metropolis Police Department. Maybe he's playing the mayor of Metropolis. Like, those are also strong possibilities. Now, I'm not trying to dwindle the hopes because I think, with the exception of Jim Gordon, I think Matthew Lillard would be perfect for any of these 4 out of 5 roles. Although I think he can still be a good Jim Gordon, but I think he'd be better in the other roles. But again, it could be possible that he could be playing some other small role. Maybe he's playing the commissioner of Metropolis, or maybe someone in charge of Belle Reve, mayor of Metropolis. There's a slew of roles that he could be playing. It could be big, it can be small. But I think that covers it. I don't think there's been anything else that's come out about who Matthew Lillard may or may not be playing. So that covers that. We spend like a little over a half hour covering that, which gives us, I think, enough time to cover the next topic. But before we do that, if you want to share who you think Matthew Lillard is going to be playing at Man tomorrow, you can share it in the chat, or you can put it in the comments after the stream is done. Now let's talk about Christopher Nolan's upcoming movie, The Odyssey, because the trailer for The Odyssey came out last week. Now, before we get into the backlash of the trailer, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. I love his Dark Knight trilogy. That's what got me into his movies. But then I watched some of his other stuff. I watched The Prestige. I love The Prestige. I watched it when I was in 8th grade. Watched it at the end of the school year in Spanish class. A lot of my fellow students thought the movie was boring. I thought it was interesting. I really enjoyed it. Then I watched Inception, my second favorite Christopher Nolan movie, one of my top 20 favorite movies. Then I watched Memento, Insomnia. I think Insomnia is a very underrated crime thriller. Robin Williams plays the villain brilliantly in that movie. I've seen his first movie, The Falling, which is still my least favorite movie, but I think it's a good, small movie for a director getting into the business, getting into directing. I've watched Interstellar. First time I watched Interstellar, it wasn't clicking with me, but then when I rewatched it for a second time, I loved it. I love Interstellar. It's one of the most emotional movies ever. I think it's one of his most emotional movies ever made. I like Dunkirk. I don't love Dunkirk, but I like it. I think it's a good war movie. Tenet. So the special thing about Tenet is it's the first movie I saw after shutdown in the theaters. Went to an AMC. It was like September 2020. It was in New Jersey. The movie theaters reopened in New Jersey. I live in New York, but movie theaters weren't open yet. But the mall that we went to had an AMC that was nearby. So we saw it. And I enjoy Tenet. Yeah, it can be confusing. It's far from being Christopher Nolan's best work. But I personally enjoy Tenet. I think it was a decent movie. Oppenheimer, I thought was fantastic. Nolan finally got his Oscar. Cillian Murphy was excellent. Robert Downey Jr. was excellent. Fantastic cast. And now he's doing The Odyssey, and I'm super excited for The Odyssey. I may or may not know this. I've shared it before. I write for the Movie Nerds website. I did a list of my most anticipated movies of 2026. Let me see if I can find the list real quick. Let me see if I can find it. There's a lot of stuff that came. I'm not going to go through all these movies, by the way, but I do want to go into see what I wrote for why I was anticipating Tenet. Not Tenet, The Odyssey. Tenet was a long time ago. Can't believe it's going to be 6 years. So, as we know, The Odyssey is based off of Homer's ancient Greek epic. And again, Nolan's coming off winning the Best Director award. And he's got another big, excellent cast. He's got Matt Damon. He's got Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Zendaya, Benny Safdie, Charlize Theron, John Bertho, Mia Goth. I also forgot to add here, I'm pretty sure John Leguizamo was also in this movie. So Nolan has tackled so many genres. He's tackled history with Dunkirk and Oppenheimer. He's tackled war, obviously, with Dunkirk. He's tackled the superhero genre, the Dark Knight trilogy. He's tackled crime thrillers with Insomnia and Memento. Memento's a great crime thriller. Science fiction with Interstellar. He's done a lot. Most of the time, he delivers. And I'm not going to show the Odyssey trailer because I don't want backlash, like copyright backlash. I don't know how it is with some people get caught, some people don't. I don't want to be one of those people that gets caught and gets strike down. So the Odyssey trailer, I keep mentioning so many Nolan movies, I'm getting jumbled. The Odyssey trailer came out. Now, personally, I enjoyed the trailer. I think the cinematography looks really good. I think the costumes, I know some people said that the armor is historically inaccurate, but the thing is, you're going to get some historical inaccuracies when it comes to these kind of movies. And again, this is just based off the novel. So, obviously, when it comes to adapting a novel from book, there's going to be some differences. So, I'm not too worried about that. But while it looks great from the action, the cinematography, the emotional stakes, it's some of the dialogue that is getting me concerned for the first time with the Odyssey. Now, some people also bring up the lack of accents, the lack of Greek accents. In fact, you've got British actors like Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland using a more American accent than even a British accent in some of the line delivery. So let's get into what has been getting attention. So, Hollywood Reporter. Everyone using American accents is definitely a choice. So, the line "Let's go" that's in there, used with an American accent. And it sounds like they're outside a Starbucks. Now, Christopher Nolan, CinemaCon recently happened, and Christopher Nolan has said it's not just a story, he is tackling the story. Everyone sounds like they're from Ohio. I've never been to Ohio, so I don't know what the Ohio accent is. Because, some states got different accents. Like, South, they got their Southern accents. New York, we got that New York accent. Fans are impressed by the film's scope and compelling star-studded cast. It's well casted. It looks well made. But they're thrown off by the choice of the characters sounding American and use contemporary sounding language, more Ithaca, New York than Ithaca, Greece. And when Matt Damon's character is leading a battle charge and crying "Let's go," it just sounds more like a regular "Let's go" from America. And it even brings up right here that Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, who are English, sound more American. And this is a striking departure from the unwritten Hollywood rule of characters in historical epics employing British accents. There's been so many epics throughout the years. You've had Ten Commandments, you had Ben-Hur, we had Gladiator, and HBO's Rome. And even though we don't expect these actors to speak the various dialects of Homeric Greek, you would at least expect maybe a modern British accent that's usually considered universally pleasing and foreign enough to convey a timeless quality. I mean, you've got British stars in there. I'm surprised that they weren't even using their British accents. The trope is so consistent and familiar that even fantasy shows set in other worlds like Game of Thrones use the British accents. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'll probably mention this when I do a Harry Potter stream down the road on Philosopher's Stone. But I remember when reading and learning that J.K. Rowling, when it came to the cast of Harry Potter, they had to have a British or Irish accent. They couldn't be anything else, no American accents, unless, of course, you have something like Goblet of Fire where you got wizards coming from other parts of the world. Do not use any other accents. Got to be the British and Irish. And this has gotten a lot of attention on Twitter. People have been going after it on Twitter. There's been jokes being made that people complain about the armor being historically inaccurate, but at least they nailed Odysseus's Boston accent. The one that this is the one that stood out to me. The stuff about using the words dad and daddy that Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland were using. So this is the line that's really getting everyone going. It's when Robert Pattinson says you're pinning for a daddy you didn't even know. The word daddy was not used back then. It would have been usually something like father or maybe even patriarch. But daddy feels out. Daddy feels like what you would see in a modern day, like a movie that's taking place in the modern day. Not all the way back then. Not in Homer's Greek epic. So that fell out of place. And then obviously Tom Holland going, my dad is coming home. Like, you would think even there he could have said father. Like, okay, you could make the case that Robert Pattinson's character, him using daddy, could maybe be a way of looking down at Tom Holland's character and his family. Okay. But then the way Tom Holland says my dad's coming home, I would think he would at least use my father's coming home. It feels so out of place in a Sword and Sandals movie. Because that's what it is. You've heard of that Sword and Sandals movie? This is one of them. People saying, I like all those old ancient Greek and Roman movies with British accents, but the cliche doesn't make sense. It can be dropped. Here's the other thing. Nolan's a British director and guy himself. And, he's had this problem where he's had inaudible dialogue. Like, sometimes the dialogue in Nolan's movies don't always deliver. There's been some dialogue problems in some of his other movies. There's been problems with how his characters have delivered lines in movies. People used to mock how Bane spoke in The Dark Knight Rises, as well as, Tom Hardy's muffled dialogue in Dunkirk. There's been issues with, Christian Bale's Batman voice and his line dialogue. So, dialogue and line delivery. This isn't the first Nolan movie that's had that problem. Other Nolan movies have. And I assume any movie Nolan makes after the Odyssey, no matter how excellent it is going to have that problem as well. But I think that, especially because it brings up right here, Mel Gibson, who directed Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto, he has been known for doing ancient language dialogue in his movies. He did it in Passion of the Christ. That caught me off the first time I watched Passion of the Christ. So, I'm not saying Nolan has to be Mel Gibson and do that, but he can do better, I think. Now, this is going to ruin the movie for me? No. But I already see people complaining, saying this might be the Nolan movie that they might not see. I see people saying, oh, Nolan's trash now, or Nolan's going to go downhill. There's already people that are freaking out because Lupita Nyong'o might be playing Helen of Troy. I don't know. I've not heard anything about that. I have not read the Odyssey, I'll be honest. I would like to, before or after this movie comes out, to see what it is. I'm obviously seeing this movie because I do like epic movies. I do love Christopher Nolan movies. And I've heard people make jokes saying, "Oh, Lupita hasn't been shown in the trailers yet." Like, to me, here's the thing. Nolan's made a lot of great movies where I feel like I trust his vision. He has made a few that didn't quite land, but I don't think they were terrible or even bad. I just don't think they were excellent. But most of the time, Nolan delivers. You got to remember, this is the same guy who, when he casted Heath Ledger as Joker, there was a lot of backlash. And then Heath Ledger, God bless his soul, delivered one of the best performances ever. This is the same guy that was able to get Cillian Murphy his first Oscar. And Cillian Murphy's an excellent actor, but he gave Cillian Murphy the keys to playing Oppenheimer, and he delivered. He also got Robert Downey Jr. his first Oscar. Nolan has casted a variety of actors in interesting roles. I mean, in Oppenheimer, even though they were small roles, he had on the team to create the nuke. He had the guy that played Roderick and Dire Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. He had Josh Peck from Drake and Josh in there. He always gets this interesting talent. Now, has he been perfect in his casting? No. I mentioned earlier in the stream, Katie Holmes in Batman Begins, she was the weak link. Although, I'll also say this, even though I don't think she gave the best performance, I actually do prefer her over Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel. In fact, I'll say I think casting Maggie Gyllenhaal to replace Katie Holmes in The Dark Knight was an even bigger miscasting. And I'm saying that about The Dark Knight, which is my favorite movie from him. So, yeah, Nolan's made some miscasts, but even then, the miscasts don't harm the movie. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. And here's the thing. Let's just say Oppenheimer is a big disaster. It's not good. The characters are miscasted. It's one of the worst epics ever. This isn't going to ruin how I feel about Christopher Nolan's other movies. I talked about this last week when going into Star Wars. Because for a lot of people, they say because of what the Disney Star Wars movies and shows, Star Wars is dead to them. And I make the case that, is it really dead to you if you still like the original trilogy, you still like the prequels, you still like the expanded universe stuff, the video games, even the Disney Star Wars stuff you admit liking, like Mandalorian and Rogue One and Andor? Is Star Wars really dead? It's the same way Christopher Nolan. Is Christopher Nolan movies really dead to you if, even though you dislike Oppenheimer, you still love Dark Knight, Inception, Memento, The Prestige? Is one possible misfire from Nolan really going to make you hate his other excellent movies? Is it going to make you hate movies that you may have loved for 20 or so years, like Memento and Batman Begins? Like, here's the thing. Yes, Rian Johnson misfired with The Last Jedi. That doesn't mean, though, I have a problem with Rian Johnson's other movies. I like Knives Out a lot. I like the first Knives Out a lot. I mean, he's made some really good sequels to it. I don't love Looper, but I like Looper. That was a very interesting movie. His first movie, Brick, I think is a great movie that doesn't get talked enough about. So yeah, Rian Johnson had a big misfire with The Last Jedi, but it doesn't ruin his filmography that came out before and after Last Jedi. Robert Zemeckis, the quality of his movies have gone downhill. I will admit that. But it doesn't ruin the movies that Zemeckis has made before that, like Forrest Gump, the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Castaway, even Polar Express. Steven Spielberg, like people say, like Spielberg's been a bit hit and miss lately. So what? Even if, when Spielberg made Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it didn't ruin how I felt about the other Indiana Jones movies. Still made three other great Indiana Jones movies. And you know what? Back then, when that movie did misfire and was disappointing, it didn't ruin the other Indiana Jones movies for Indiana Jones fans. Spider-Man 3, I like Spider-Man 3, but I understand why people dislike the movie. It doesn't ruin the first two Spider-Man movies for me. So I feel like While I'm still looking forward to the Odyssey, I think it's still going to be great. I will also say, if it's not good, it is what it is, but it doesn't ruin Nolan for me. Nolan has made enough excellent movies for me to rewatch multiple times for the years to come. I mean, people thought after Tenet that Nolan could be done, that this could be it for Nolan, that he misfired with Tenet. And look what happened. He made Oppenheimer, which some people consider to be one of, if not his best movie. And it's the movie that finally got him the Oscar. Directors don't always hit the mark. There's no such thing as a perfect director. Martin Scorsese has had movies that missed the mark. For example, I recently watched Goodfellas, my favorite Scorsese movie. Loved it. His remake of Cape Fear came out a year later. I don't really care for his remake of Cape Fear, to be honest. I would much rather watch the one from 1962. I think the one he made was just, just felt like it dragged on for me. But guess what? Scorsese also made other great movies after that, like Gangs of New York, The Departed, The Wolf of Wall Street, Killers of the Flower Moon. And you know what? For some people, Killers of the Flower Moon didn't land for them, but it didn't ruin the other excellent movies that he made. So, to me, I see people saying, "Oh, Nolan ruined this. He's dead to me," or forget about Christopher Nolan. He's just like the rest of modern day Hollywood. I still believe in Christopher Nolan. This movie still looks great. I don't the American accents. I don't think it's gonna ruin it for me. I don't think it will. If anything, I think more so what the dialogue's gonna be is what I'm gonna look at. Like I think it wouldn't be that big of a deal if Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland had just used the word father instead of dad and daddy. I don't think it would have been as big of a deal because look, I'm still looking and it looks like Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway have put on great performances in this movie. I have a feeling they're going to put great performances. Are they going to get nominated for awards come award season? I don't know. We'll see. Depends on what the critics think of their performances. I think that this could be a game changer for Tom Holland as an actor because Tom Holland, who has been a great Spider-Man the last decade, he's also been in projects, even he's done good, and he's also been in projects that were not well received. And I would like for him to succeed in this movie, to break out in this movie, to show that he's not just a great Spider-Man, he can do other things. So I'm really hoping that the Odyssey turns out great. Even if one character is miscasted, if the other characters give great performances, if the story's great, the action's great, the cinematography's excellent, I'm engaged, I'm not bored out of my mind, I will be fine. And Odyssey is one for me. Like, here's the thing. You guys got to make your own opinion. Don't go by what the critics say. I mean, we hear all this talk about, critics are right or critics are wrong. Look, the critics could gush over this movie, and I may come out of this movie not caring. The critics may be bashing this movie, and I can come out enjoying the movie. Recently, we just had two movies based off video games, Mortal Kombat 2 and the Super Mario Galaxy movie, that are getting mixed and negative responses from critics, but fans seem to enjoy it. But again, general audiences may love this movie, but fans of the Odyssey may not like this movie. But look, we've also had many movies that have had significant book to movie differences that still turned out well. Like, people bring up like Harry Potter having significant book to movie differences that have either made the movies better or worse. There's been other book to movie differences out there. Like Jurassic Park has some significant ones as well. People don't realize that. We all love Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But Jurassic Park does have some significant differences from the book. And one of those significant differences is John Hammond's character. In the novel, John Hammond is an antagonist. He's portrayed as a sociopathic CEO. While in the movie, if you watch the first Jurassic Park movie, he seems like he has good intentions. He wants to make a theme park for everyone to enjoy. But he's also like pretty. He's too eccentric about it. In the movie, he's a lot more kinder. He does take responsibility for his actions. He loves his grandchildren. And he does care for everyone's safety. So that's a significant difference involving one character. In the book, he's a bad guy. In the movie, he's a sympathetic, flawed, but still likable character. That's a significant book difference that, as far as I know, Jurassic Park fans did not make a big deal of. I first watched Jurassic Park before reading the book. I wasn't born in 1993. I wasn't alive in 1993 to know what the reaction from Jurassic Park fans were. There wasn't this online discourse about movies to know were fans feeling the changes that Jurassic Park made in the movie. But you know what? It's probably going to be expected in the Odyssey. So, again, are Odyssey fans really going to be outraged, or is it going to just be the usual suspects on Twitter and YouTube that get outraged over everything, that claim to be fans of the Odyssey? Because sometimes they claim to be a fan of something, but they really aren't. So we got to really figure out how serious these people are in saying, I'm a fan of this. Like, oh, you ruined my childhood kind of thing. All right, we've hit over an hour. That's all. That's how long I wanted to go. Next week, I will try to go a bit longer, depending on what the topics are. And then the following weekend. So the weekend that Mandalorian Grogu comes out. So how I'm going to do this is I'll do my review for Mandalorian Grogu the same way I've done reviews in the past. But then I will do a stream covering the spoilers, going more in depth. I might do that either the Sunday after it comes out or Memorial Day on Monday. I'll have to see. I have done spoiler streams before. So if you have not seen Mandalorian Grogu by the time I do this stream, don't watch it. But that will basically be, the spoiler stream will basically be the 5th episode of Common Sense in Pop Culture. But thank you for watching. Thank you to Red and Sal for being in the chat and offering your input. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. Please subscribe, or if you haven't, please share us with someone that has thoughts on Matthew Lillard being cast in Man tomorrow and the backlash of the Odyssey. And I hope to see you guys real soon. To all the mothers who are watching this, happy Mother's Day, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, everyone.